Good morning, Muscatine. It started. I've warned you, informed you. I don't know that this is coming. I guess it's not really warned because I'm the only one out here. Well, I mean, I'm not the only one out here. I meant between you and I, the viewing audience. I'm the one out here. It's freezing for food time. As you guys know, it's been a busy week in Muscatine. It's going to continue to be another busy week. Toy time wrapped up with Viola taking out 100 bikes. Turned out pretty good out there. Thursday night, what the heck was... Thursday night was the Jackson Concert Series. Holy cow. Friday night was the stroll. And I want to say a couple things on the stroll real quick, if I may, because these guys were a big part in that as well. I want to thank everybody for coming out. It was obviously more wet and cold than it's been the last couple years. And I think for that, like even seeing the surveys coming in, I'm pretty happy with how it went, considering all the little things that the weather tossed at us. And, like we had a lot of people didn't know this, but so Tiny Toons does our center stage, and they had a big show coming up, and obviously there was rain and everything else, so like we couldn't get out all the stuff. So we, about an hour before Jingle and Mingle, we made a decision to move Tiny into his place and have him kind of playing out. And then I like to say we called up from AAA, J-Dub, who had done last year the kids DJing down at Pine Street. We promoted him, we called him up to the majors and put him on center stage. So it was a little different than normal at center stage, but I think he did a great job for having like an hour's notice, because we were trying to put off those decisions as long as we could when the weather's like that. Yeah. And but I think, down by you guys, I don't know, what was it down? Of course, I'm always running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but it seemed like you guys were busy, all night.
Yes.
How did it go?
Yeah. It went fantastic. Can I take this?
Yeah, absolutely.
It went fantastic. We had the greatest guests, Mr. and Mrs. Claus. The kids loved seeing them. They loved getting pictures, sitting on their laps, writing their Christmas letters to Santa. Yeah. They said, I want to hand deliver this to you now, so that way you know Santa. And then we had fresh popcorn out there, and people would constantly, right?
The line was long.
Come up and tell us. We could smell it down the street, the popcorn scent wafting in the air.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned you could smell the popcorn, because what was crazy about Friday was 2nd Street was blistering cold, because there was this wind whipping straight down through 2nd Street. But literally as soon as you stepped up onto one of the side streets in between the buildings, it was nice. It was, and so it was crazy. But, I was talking to a gentleman, actually Justin from the Merrill, and, he was saying his parents, I can't remember where he said they come from every year. Rockford, Rock Falls, something with a rock in it. I apologize, Justin. But they come because they look forward to it every year, and I think, we've started trying to call it our little Hallmark movie in Muscatine, and I think we're getting there. I mean, I think, this was our 3rd year, and the weather played a factor, but I think, we've got kind of that core down, and I'm actually really looking forward to next year already. So that was Friday. Saturday was the orchestra, the symphony orchestra. Maestro Dollinger did a tremendous job, and this is what's great about this time of year. I get to see the Gantners every day. so we saw them Friday night at the Stroll. Saturday night, you guys were kind of the guests of honor at the symphony. So could you kind of tell us a little bit about what the symphony did for the Salvation Army?
We're getting the final counts today, but I can say that it was an overflowing table full of food donations, and the contributions to our Little Red Kettle, it was tremendous. This silver kettle, we had a chromed out kettle there for the symphony orchestra.
Wait, you have a chromed out kettle?
Yes, I do.
How have I never seen a chromed out kettle?
It's brand new.
Yeah.
I'll put it out. I'll bring it.
Do I get it here?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, right. Yes, we're gonna have the chrome kettle. I just felt like a teenager again there for a second. Let's chrome everything. Chrome it. And so Maestro Dollinger and the orchestra and the board did a tremendous job. That's the free concert every year. They had a bunch of interactive, so you got to sing. They did carols with the symphony. They did Frozen. They had Frozen. Yep. And I told him, I'm like, because like I don't always see the like full playlist. Like I just kind of know what they're doing, of course. I'm like, dude, you should have said something. We could have had Anna, Elsa, and Olaf here, because like they were at the stroll Friday. I'm sure they could have stayed another day. And then Sunday was Habitat for Humanity's house. What is it called? Tour of Homes. That's what I'm trying to think of. And I talked to Tony Sturms this morning, and he said it went wonderfully well. I still don't believe that he's cool enough to do something like that, but that's for another day. And so now we're here at Monday, and we're going to be out here. And, folks, I don't know if you can see, the trailer is empty, right? And so by the end of this week, the goal is to put a dent in that, make it full, right? Now, as we talk about this, the important thing to know is, like, freezing for food's been around like 20 years, 24 or 5 years. I don't know what it is. And a group of 4 kind of started it. Doug Krieger, and there's Toy Time kind of came first and whatever. But basically, Doug Krieger, Mike Riggin, Jim Simmons, and Dwayne Hopkins from the radio station. And they kind of all pulled together and, they combined Toy Time and this freezing for food concept into 2 Weeks of Love. And it's been this great thing for the Salvation Army for pushing 20 years now. And what's cool is, obviously we all know the need at Christmas, right? But the food drives have historically been able to fill the pantry for the better part of a year, right? And that's how it was for a long time, right? And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden the need drastically changed. And I remember, we had just kind of done freezing for food, that December, April, COVID, food. And I remember having some conversations like how, like, and we're like, yep, it's gone. Like, it was gone. And so, you partner with Riverbend and you like, there's tons of programs. The Community Foundation did a great job of helping coordinate all that. And now what does the need look like in Muscatine now, kind of like post-COVID? I'm going to call it semi-normal, but we all know it's a new normal, right? Like, it's totally different. So like, on a given month, or like, how does the food pantry interact with the community? Because I know you guys don't just do the drop-offs. Like, you help partner with the others. Like, what all does the food pantry actually kind of run through? And actually, wait, I can't believe we didn't say anything. We have, for those of you that watched last year, there were 2 Gantners. How did we? He's so quiet. Like, we have a 3rd Gantner now. And he's nice and snuggled up, starting his freezing for food early. Oh, you little wave. Little wave. Don't, no. He's like, what? And yes, everybody watching, he's been warm. They've been like all bundled up in the van right before we came on. So no, we don't need any comments about you're freezing the kid. No, we're not freezing the kid.
He's nice and cozy.
Yeah. So if you could talk a little bit about what the food pantry looks like throughout the year.
Yes.
I can help too.
You want to help? Okay. Well, I do know that there is a family every 15 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So a family every 15 minutes.
Yeah, and the late, it's mostly volunteer run, our food pantry. We do have one main employee, but not only do they have appointments every 15 minutes, but they have people coming in for emergency bags all the time. Even right now, we're not doing appointments currently because of all the other things going on, but people are coming in nonstop. Even on days that we don't do food pantry, we still have people coming in. So Saturday, I helped someone get food. And I think we're going to see this constant rise of food still being needed around Muscatine County just because of all the life stuff that's happening. Sure, there's no COVID today necessarily, like a huge outbreak of it, and a lot of people still need food though. Job layoffs, and different things like that. It's really hard for families, and when we have someone come in, we don't turn anyone away, and so that means that we need lots of food to give out. So.
Well, and one thing that Riverbend, Jenny's going to join us after this. We're going to hop off for a little bit. She'll be down as we kind of start going throughout the day. And one thing that she told me a couple weeks ago was even after like freezing for food over the last couple years and all the things, like the mobile food pantry out at the school district and what you guys do and MCSA, and after all that, the Muscatine community is still about 500,000 meals per year short of the food need. And that just blew my mind. But the good news is that's a thing that we can address. Like, like we've got the infrastructure in place, and this is where events like this can kind of make the difference. And I think I'd sort of mentioned, I knew this was going to be a tough year, and so I made a couple calls, and I knew we had to do something big this year to kind of fire everybody up. And so as you all know, I announced on Thursday, and we've kind of been previewing, we've got a job to do, Muscatine. We have a $10,000 matching donation waiting for us. If we can put $10,000 worth of food in this truck by Friday, the Salvation Army gets another $10,000 to use up at Riverbend, which when you think about that, and I don't want to spoil what Riverbend's going to talk about in a little bit, but like the way they help you guys, and because they're kind of like the wholesaler, like the food pantries are kind of like the retailer, and they're kind of like the wholesaler that kind of helps orchestrate everything, right? And they kind of use a stat of like every dollar can get 5 meals because of the way they're able to buy and get to you guys and the amount of volunteers involved. And so if you think about it, that $10,000 match sitting out there is 50,000 of those meals. So the matching donation's 10% of our gap, right? And so if we match it in this week, we'll have taken 10% off that gap in a week, which, obviously I'd love it if we could fill the whole thing, and let's not, but like just if we get that, we've made a big dent. And obviously there's, over at Fairway and everything else, but the match is here at H&I's trailer at Hy-Vee. It is, and I want to be clear on this, this is an anonymous donor from here in town who, this is going to sound cheesy, but it's the whole Maslow's hierarchy thing, right? Like, if you don't have food and you don't have shelter, you can't do anything else. Kids can't learn, you can't work, you can't do anything else if you don't have food and shelter. So they believe in food, and that's their thing. And that's why when I called and they're like, yes, we'll help. And so Muscatine, I told them, I'm like, look, I don't want them standing out there by themselves. I know Muscatine can match this, and we can do it and get everybody involved. So I'm really excited about that. We did send an email. Matt Schweitzer and I kind of reached out to some of our friends in the business community, and as the week goes on, you'll see some of those donations starting to come in that we're working on pallets at a time here to make the dent. So one of the things I do want to talk about here real quick, and then we're going to swing back to you guys because I don't want to monopolize the whole thing here. Hy-Vee has bags. Of course, clean out your pantries, all that fun stuff, like normal food drive. Bring it out. We'll have a tent up here in a little bit. You can't see it right now, but there's a 35-foot Santa. I don't know, Chris, can you see that at least a little bit? A little bit. We'll get some pictures of it, of course, for you, but 35-foot Santa, snowman. We'll have some music out here in a little bit, tent, whole 9 yards. But inside Hy-Vee, I don't remember if they're $20 or $25. I think they're $20. They're $20 bags. And what they did is Matt worked with Salvation Army, like what you guys need. He makes some big bulk purchases and kind of passes it along. And they kind of bundle it all up and make it easy for people that want to donate. You can just buy a bag. And you don't even have to bring it out here in the cold. You can just buy it in the store. They'll bring them out. They'll bring them all in a nice little group for us. It is. It's that Hy-Vee friendly smile in every parking spot, right? But it's super easy, and it's just, it works. It works really well. It's worked for 20 years. It'll probably work for another 20. But so for you guys, from the Salvation Army point of view, I think the thing that helps people the most is like understanding what the stories are, like what can you think of an example of something you can share, obviously, of an example of like, hey folks, this is the kind of situation where you're helping out? Can you think of one?
Oh yeah, I just think Saturday someone came in and they just moved to Muscatine actually, and they don't have a place to stay yet, so we were trying to figure out referrals for that. But we could in that moment get them food and make sure that they had some basic needs besides even just food, like hygiene products and stuff like that. And we have some clothes in our lobby right now, so we're able to find some things and pull from our stash around the building, but food is like above all the hygiene and the clothes and everything. What we want to give someone is food. When they come in and they say, I haven't eaten in 2 or 3 days, it's like, okay, let's get you some food. And sometimes I'll have a women's group going on and we have soup or something, and it's like I need something to eat, and it's like, well, I have a hot meal right now, I don't always have that, but let's get you set up. And that's a constant thing in and out in our building, Monday through Friday. Even on Sunday mornings when we're having church, people come in, and when they need food, we'll stop what we're doing to get them food. And just people are in need, and that's just one story of what we see all the time, with just things things that you have every day and people struggle with having, and it's real, and it's close to home because it's our neighbors, it's the people we live by that are needing help. So,
well, and that's one thing that we kind of talk about a lot in Muscatine is it's the I know I do on the show, it's that first step is always the hardest. And if you think about it, imagine a world where they call food insecurity if you don't know where one of your next meals is coming from, or if in 30 days you skipped a meal because you didn't have food or the money to get it, right? And so obviously I'm fortunate I don't really have that concern, but if you stop and put yourself in that and use the example of somebody who's just moved to town, how great of a community does it feel like we are? And I don't think I said that quite right, but it's great to feel like if somebody moves to this community, we've got their back as soon as they roll in. And I would hope for them it shows the kind of community they're moving to, because I think that's the community we all want to be, right? I mean, of course it's Muscatine. I've lived here my whole life. We all have goofy things in Muscatine. That's just makes Muscatine Muscatine, right? It is. But I don't think you could go down any street in town and talk to anybody. The one thing we would all across the board agree on is that's the kind of community we want to be, right? We may fall short here and there, but we're going to be trying our hardest, right? And so I love hearing these stories, not because, obviously it's unfortunate that these stories have to exist, but because we are continuing to put the safety nets in place for people. And so especially with when you look at the support, HNI, Hy-Vee, of course, we're going to be here no matter what. And I notice, I do want to give one little thing here. Matt Schweitzer from Hy-Vee, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, do you ever see him out here with me doing this? You don't. I'm just gonna toss it out there for those of you watching. If you know Matt, please tag him in a Facebook post. Remind him to swing out and see us every once in a while. Yeah, he knows I'm watching him. But guys, thank you for stopping out. Is there anything else that you want people to know as we kind of go through this week? You guys will be in and out, and we'll be bouncing around a lot. We'll have plenty of time to talk. But is there anything else kind of as we kick this off that you really want to make sure people know as we get started?
Just saying, do what you can. We can all do something to be part of the community and how we give back. And not everyone has a lot of money to give, but maybe you do have a few cans or this or that somewhere laying around. So do what you can to help a neighbor. And that's what we're going to do as well. And we appreciate all that you've done and what you're doing this, even in these moments. So we see you, and we thank you and appreciate you. So.
Well, and actually, I'm going to toss one more thing in here. It's kettle season as well. Yes. So when you see that, it's like you guys are your own big kettles. Yes. When you see a kettle, toss a little something in, right? And I'm going to also throw out there, I'm going to guess there's still some holes where people can ring. So registertoring.com or registertoring.com, I can never remember. If you want to come out here and freeze with me, see, here's the thing. If you register to ring, it's a lot easier. I'm going to tell you that. But if you want to come out here and freeze with me, if you go to discovermuscatine.com, up on the top, there's a spot, there's a button that says volunteer, like, and you can sign up and you can come out and freeze for food with us. It's actually pretty easy. We do have a warming trailer behind us, so if you get too cold, you can definitely warm up. We're not going to make you suffer too much. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming out. Thank you for, yes, let's go get him warmed back up like before. Yeah, but again, thank you guys for all you do. I know working at the Salvation Army isn't a normal job. No. It's it's a 24/7, 365. It's a passion. It's obviously you guys have been called to do it, and you know the one thing that I always think about when I think about you guys is you're just there, right? You're just. I always, from the time, I've really been kind of involved with the Salvation Army more intensely for probably 4 or 5 years now. And whether it was the box before you or you, I know that if it's Sunday at 10 o'clock and somebody calls, because we get calls at Discover Muscatine, like, hey, who do we call for this? Or, things like that. And I make sure we try and answer them, even if it's on the weekend or whatever. I know I can call you guys and you're there. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, it's Sunday at 6, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I just know you're there, and that's a great thing to know about our community. So on that, I think we're going to wrap it up for the moment, but Jenny from Riverbend will be here probably in a little while. You'll see us back on, and until then and all this week, don't forget to stop out, but go attack the rest of the week with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We'll see you later.